started. Have a great class.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, thank you, Felicia. Remember, Felicia did say that this is going to be recorded and we have a lot to cover. So check back on Monday on the YouTube channel. If you miss anything or if we're going a little bit too fast for you, you can always go back and rewatch it. So we love having you guys here with us today. Tanisha is in the chat. She will be answering your questions and relaying them to me. So be sure to message either her privately or everyone in the chat if you have a question you think everybody could benefit from. But yeah, this is really exciting. This is our very first live with the brand new product exclusive at Michael's, which is FolkArt Drizzle. And we're going to be making this awesome paint drip canvas today. If you have your supplies ready for this, we are going to talk about this about halfway through our class. I wanted to give you an overview of the whole program and do some paint pouring, just general paint pouring first, and then we're going to get into this project. So if you are here just for this project, hang on. I want to explain the program to you, and then we will get started on this. I just have so much to share with you about the brand new FolkArt Drizzle line. Now, if you are unfamiliar with it, FolkArt is a wonderful legacy brand, and we have been making FolkArt here at Plaid for over 40 years, and it is a brand you can trust. And we have added to that line with our brand new FolkArt Drizzle. Now, Drizzle is a complete fluid art painting program. So we have all of the paint, different specialty finishes, so many different formulas, and we also accompany that with tools. So today for our dropper canvas, we are going to be using our Drop Swipe Stir toolkit along with some of our original finish colors. So if you have all your supplies on hand, that is awesome. I'm so glad you guys are joining us today. And just to give you an idea of what fluid art is, you might be a little bit new to paint pouring. It is everywhere. It is on Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram, Reels. You can find pouring in just about every kind of entertainment channel right now. And what we've done is tried to break it down to a really core, wonderful product that works really well and is very user-friendly. And we've got all these tools to help you achieve those techniques that may be a little bit intimidating if you just were to see a canvas with a crazy cool design on it. It's hard to think how to get those designs. So what we've done is designed a lot of different tools that do the work for you. So one of the first tools I want to talk about today is our 3-slotted cup. Now we have several different tools in the line and several of them are cups. So the first one is our 3-slotted cup. We have several different tools that kind of work in tandem with the 3-slotted cup. We have a 7-slotted cup. We have different shaped cups. We have a star shape that's this great little hollow star shape. We have a flower. And as far as cups go, that's what we've got in the cup world. And then we have some strainers. These are stacked strainers. We have paint volcanoes. There are just so many different tools to get into. And one of the things you might be intimidated by very first, if you've never poured, is picking a color palette. And that is something that we've worked really hard for you guys on. And we've put together paint sets. So we have several different paint sets. If you are brand new to pouring, grab one of the paint sets, grab one of the cups, and you can get pouring today. So it's very exciting to have all these different colorways for you. We have a metallic kit, we have a neon kit, we have a Surf's Up kit, which is all of our beautiful blues, oceany colors, and then we have a galaxy kit. So there's a lot for you to explore. So I encourage you guys to go to the Michael's website and see everything we have to offer for you there. Now, as far as pouring in general, if you go to plaidonline.com/drizzle, you will find a link to our free printable PDF. If you've ever taken any of our classes in the Michael's Community Classroom from Plaid, you'll know that we love to come up with these guides to give you all the information that you need to be successful. So we have made this PDF for you. It's totally free. You can print it out and keep it in your pouring supplies, paint pouring supplies to refer back to. And what we've done, if we want to switch to the overhead here, we have gotten so many different techniques and tricks for you in the guide. We show you really beautiful color photos that are some of the canvases that I've poured, so you can see what we were thinking there. We also start with some supply lists, just so you know what to have on hand anytime you're doing a paint pour. These are just some great supplies to have on hand that you can always get at your local Michael's and pick up and work with your paint pouring. And then we also give you a brief kind of Q&A tips and tricks section. If you're new to paint pouring, this is great to use just so that you know the works and all the things that are at play. in paint pouring. So while we're overhead here, I want to go ahead and kind of start explaining just a basic pouring principle. And if you have been looking at paint pouring projects, you'll know that one of the most popular techniques to achieve is what we refer to as cells. Now, cells are these little circular areas of color where you're almost having like an oil and water reaction, where there's like a surface tension reaction where you have one color revealing the color underneath. So I'm going to show you how to achieve cells with FolkArt Drizzle. That's probably our most common question with FolkArt Drizzle. And that is really easy to do by using silicone oil. So we've gotten our silicone oil at Michael's, and we're just going to use a few drops of this into each of our colors. Now, again, we are going to be focusing on our bright rainbow drop canvas in just a minute, but I just wanted to get everybody interested and involved in pouring and kind of get a general idea, make sure everybody's on the same page. So we're going to start with this 3-slotted cup, and some general supplies to have are a nonstick baking sheet. We love to use those when we're doing paint pouring, because the paint doesn't stick to them. So once your paint is dry, you can peel it right out of the bottom of that pan and either craft with it. We call those paint skins, or you can also throw it away. So it's really, really nice and convenient. So I've just got a simple 8x10 canvas here. You can get these in bulk at Michael's, and I'm going to flip that over. And one of our greatest tips for paint pouring are thumbtacks. Thumbtacks are great because they keep your painting elevated off of your baking sheet, so that if any paint goes over the edges, it drips right into the pan rather than sticking your canvas basically in all of that paint. So it elevates it up off the table. Now, one thing I want to mention is that FolkArt Drizzle is permanent, and you want to make sure that you're covering your workspace. If you are working on a craft table, you want to make sure you've got some paper down to protect your table, because once this paint is on, it is on there. So you can see that we've gotten this big drop cloth that we use for a lot of different pouring projects. And we also have a piece of palette paper under here to keep it nice and clean. So I've gone ahead and put my push pins in, and then my canvas is raised up off of my pan. And I'm going to use some vinyl gloves. Now, these are not necessary. FolkArt Drizzle is water-based and non-toxic. The only reason I'm using gloves is just because I don't want to transfer any paint to any other projects, and I don't want to have to wash my hands in between. It's just easy to pull my gloves off and move on. So that's why I'm using gloves. These don't have to be anything special. It's just to cover your hands so that you don't get paint on them. We're not worried about any kind of toxic chemicals in FolkArt Drizzle. Now, FolkArt Drizzle dries down to a really beautiful glossy finish. This is one of our flash iridescence. So we might have some questions about how to finish a project, and we'll go more into depth about that. But just to give you a shortcut, we have built a sealer into this paint. So it is indoor, outdoor, and you'll be left with this gorgeous glossy finish. So I just want you guys to know that a lot of pouring paints, you have to add an additional sealer over top when you're done with your project. But FolkArt Drizzle is great because as soon as you're done and your painting is fully cured, you are able to hang it up on the wall and display it. You don't have to waste time by putting another sealer coat on there. Okay, so we're going to grab our 3-slot cup here, and I'm going to grab a few different colors to use. Tanisha inspired me earlier today. Tanisha did a YouTube and Facebook Live, and she used a beautiful color palette that included white, our gold, and our navy blue, which is Good Night. So let me go through these colors. We've got Good Night. This is that deep navy blue. We're going to be using this on our dropper canvas. Then we have our white, which is Cloud 9. And we have our gold, which is Heart of Gold. So I'm just going to pour these directly into my 3-slotted cup. Now, one thing I like to say is if you've never poured before, or you're a professional pouring artist, the 3-slotted cup is a great way to ensure you get a good result. It's a fantastic tool. We use it constantly in the video studio and in the craft studio when we're making these projects. It's just so versatile, and it's very predictable. You get a great result basically every pour that you do. So I'm just filling my chambers with paint.
And Dylan, since this is non-toxic, does it have a smell at all?
Yeah, so Drizzle is super low odor. I can't really detect anything. I'm not going to say it doesn't smell like anything, because if you whiff really far into the bottle there, you're definitely going to get a little bit of a smell. But no, overall, it is a fantastic product. You can do it indoors. You don't have to worry about doing this outside. So that's a great question. But no harsh smell at all.
I had someone mention to me the other day that they had tried paint pouring, whatever product they were using, they complained that it had a really strong smell.
Oh, yeah.
Because I said, well, the ones we are working with have no smell at all.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would not be very convenient. Okay, so to make cells, if you are unfamiliar with paint pouring, you add in an additive, which is silicone oil. Now, most paint pouring products do not create cells on their own. When the paint just comes out of our cup here, if we were to just pour it right on the canvas, you're not going to get cells. But when you add the silicone in, there's lots of different ways and a lot of different ratios. I usually just add a few drops to each of my colors. When you mix that silicone in, you create different viscosities. And then one thing we like to have on hand is a butane torch. If you're familiar with resin crafting or other paint pouring, you'll know that these are really popular, because these basically are your cell activators. So this is what makes those cells pop out and make such beautiful, really organic textures in your pour. So you want to have a butane torch and silicone oil to achieve cells with FolkArt Drizzle. So I've just put a few drops in each of my colors, and I'm going to just mix them directly in this cup. And the 3-slot cup is great because all you have to do is pour it onto your canvas, swirl your paint around, and you've got a perfect design. It's really pretty simple.
Dylan, we had a question, 2 questions in the chat answering, but I think for everyone, if you could answer verbally.
Yeah.
One was, where can I find the Drizzle guide that was mentioned earlier?
So if you go to plaidonline.com, that is our product website, /drizzle. So you have to go to plaidonline.com/drizzle. You will find a landing page that has all of our videos on YouTube, all the projects that we've put out. And also, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there will be a link to a free PDF guide.
Okay. And the other question was from Angie, and she said, if this is permanent paint, what's the best way to clean the pour cup?
It's really easy. I would clean your cups, I wouldn't go more than an hour after your pouring project, with soap and water, warm soapy water. If you have any kind of tumblers or straws, you know that they make great bottle brushes that get into really tight places. I would recommend picking up 1 or 2 of those. It's really easy to clean your tools that way. And that is especially helpful when you have these hollow tools like the star and flower cups. So soap and water, really easy to clean. And it's okay, you'll notice that the tool I'm using here, this 3-slotted cup, we've used it a lot of times. So there is some paint buildup on it, but as long as you get it relatively clean, you shouldn't have any issues. And so it's okay to be kind of messy.
Yeah, and because once it's dry, it's not going to reform just because you put
Right.
it there. It's not going to come back to life and mix with your paint.
Right. Okay, so this is the moment we've all been waiting for here. We are going to pour our cup out onto our canvas. Now, there's a lot of different ways to pour your canvas. I'm just going to kind of go in a free-form fashion and see what looks best. And this is the part of pouring that you have to give up the pouring technique to the paint. Sometimes the paint just does what it does, and we kind of learn to work with it rather than, you want to guide it rather than tell it where to go, if that makes any sense. So it's really fun because you're going to get a different result every single time. So I'm going to take my cup and we're just going to start pouring. And you can already see some of those cells start to form. And it's really fun. You can just kind of try whatever you're feeling as far as pouring your paint on. And then we're going to swirl our canvas around. You kind of just get to a point where you're happy with it. And then we're going to take our torch. We're going to make some cells. So it might be a little hard for you guys to see on camera, but we've got all kinds of little cells popping up once we use that butane torch.
Dylan, you may not know the answer to this, but just as a person who likes science, do we know why it takes heat to like activate the silicone in that way?
You know, I don't. I really don't.
I'll have to look that up before we do our next live. So maybe I can.
Yeah, that is a good thing to know.
Because it does, once you put the heat on, you can really start to see all those little.
Oh yeah. And a lot of times you'll see a lot of pouring videos where they don't even need, I mean, they definitely use torches as well, but sometimes, like, you know, depending on your silicone ratio, you get cells right away without even having to necessarily use the torch. We just know that that's a really fail-safe way. It's very dependable. So, you know, FolkArt Drizzle is all about experimenting and trying new things. So we encourage you guys to try all kinds of techniques using different additives and let us know how they work.
So we do have a question, Dylan.
Yeah.
Pat D asks, can we use a heat gun versus a torch?
You can use a heat gun. They generally push out a little more air than you want because you don't want to dry the surface of your painting. I definitely wouldn't use a hair dryer because the hair dryer is really going to blow some air. But a heat gun you can use. I would just make sure that you're using it really far up off the surface. I have not used it to, you know, adamantly create cells, so I can't, you know, verify that it works really well. But the torch is just our go-to, but you could definitely try a heat gun. It would definitely get rid of bubbles. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's the best thing to make cells, but it is definitely an option.
Okay, I've got a couple more questions.
Okay.
And I'm not quite sure what this one's mean. You may know better because you've been at a paint company more.
Yeah.
Julie asks, are all the pouring paints temperature paints?
Oh, tempera paint is a kind of a certain kind of acrylics. I'm not sure. Our paints are not tempera paint, if that's what they're trying to say. These are standard acrylics. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll
tempera
see
paint
if
is a little
Julie
more
says
washable. Yeah, I'm not sure. As far as temperature, I know that I don't know that I would be able to tell you.
Okay.
If that's a thing. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. And then one from Vivek, hopefully I'm saying that right, says, do we have to use silicone oil in all three colors or just one is fine?
That's a great question. So no, you don't have to use it in all three colors. I just generally do because I know that that yields the most consistent results. I know I'm going to get cells, but you definitely do not have to use silicone in all of your colors. You'll see a lot of different paint pouring artists put it in their one base color. So that is definitely something to try out. I've just found that I always get cells every single time, with doing it in every color, but there are a lot of different ways to do it. So I would encourage you to experiment. Yeah, for sure. Okay, now we're going to move on to our paint drip canvas, and we're going to keep it on the front here. I'm actually going to craft to the front camera because what we're going to do, if you looked in your supply list, we have to raise our canvas up, and we're going to be using our droppers from our drop swipe stir toolkit to drop colors onto our canvas. So if you are prepped for this project, you want to go ahead and get something heavy to put behind your canvas. And I'm going to set mine up. I have one of these cool old glass tile blocks, and I'm going to grab my canvas. You can do this on any color canvas. I just find that it works really, really well on a black canvas because we get that really beautiful pop of color on that dark black background. So I just leaned my canvas up against my glass cube here, and we're going to grab our drop swipe stir toolkit. If you are unfamiliar with our tools, this is one of the greatest toolkits to have because it basically can be used for every different type of pour. It comes with 4 of these great little eyedroppers. They have silicone caps, and they come right off so that if you want to go clean them afterwards, you can just pop the head of that off and you can reuse these multiple times. And again, these are great to clean with those bottle brushes. So I'd highly recommend picking up some bottle brushes. And the set also comes with 3 different swiping tools. So you've got a round comb, you have a square edged comb, and then you have this great squeegee that also has teeth on the side. So these are really fun to use with straight pour and drag them through later. And we're going to be focusing on some of these on the upcoming Michael's classes. So you want to tune back in when we focus on these swiping tools. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get 6 of our little droppers here, and I'm going to get these ready, and we're going to grab all of our colors. I want to run through our colors really quick, and from left to right, we're going, or sorry, left to right, turned around here. We're going to use lava. This is our bright red color. Then we've got neon pop, this beautiful orange. Then we have neon sunshine, it's bright yellow. Then we've got our go green, this kind of clovery green color. Then good night, our dark navy. And royal velvet, this beautiful rich purple. So the great thing about FolkArt Drizzle is that you can pour directly out of this awesome little flip top cap. And if you want to do that, if you don't have our dropper tools, that is totally fine. You can definitely use the cap from the bottle and pour directly onto your canvas. But I like to use the droppers because they allow me to have a lot of control over my project. So I'm going to use these. And the other great thing is we have such a wide mouth on this top that I'm actually just going to get my paint right out of the top. We're just going to take my dropper and we're going to suction up a little bit of paint. Just like that. And I'm going to load all 6 of my colors and then set them in cups. I'm just going to get them ready here. And then I'm going to give you a tip on how to approach this canvas, of how to like get the different sections nice and even. We'll cover that in just a second. So if you haven't already, I'm not sure if I put it on the supply list, but just grab a pencil or a pen. We're going to be marking off even areas on the top of our canvas. I just want to make sure that you have something to write on. It's totally fine if you don't, but we'll be able to get a little bit better accuracy if we do that. Here's our neon pop.
We've got all these links popping up in the chat. So if you are interested, you can go directly to those links and see them directly on Michael's.
Yeah, and if you haven't been in store in a while, we have a great end cap that we've all been really excited to go see. I know Tanisha brought her daughters to it the other day. It's really fun. It's super bright. It has all these beautiful products on it. And it took a lot of work on the design team making the sign look great. So I encourage you guys to go see it.
And it has Dylan's face on it.
My face is on it. My hands and my face are on it. It's a very full circle moment for me, because as a kid, I took a ton of Michael's classes, like craft classes, in store. And it's just very cool to go in the store and see my face on the end cap of where I used to take my classes. So
it's amazing.
It's very fun.
Proud of the whole thing.
Yeah.
As a crafter, you can't ask for much more than having something to do with something inside of a Michael's.
Correct. It's a huge deal. All right, I'm almost done filling my droppers. Now, again, if you don't have the drop swipe stir tool kit, that's totally fine. You could use the paint out of the bottle. I'm just using the droppers so that I get a really precise application. These are just really nice to use because you're able to really guide the paint exactly where you want it. my last one here. Okay, now if we want to switch back to the overhead, I want to show you guys on how to kind of section out your colors. And I've done it here on my example, and I just want to show you. I'm going to put this in the camera here so you can see that I have a few little dots that I've just dotted on just to make sure, excuse me, that my sections are nice and even. This is not, you do not have to do that, but it is just nice because you get those really even blocks of color. So we're just basically going to make 5 marks on each section, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball it and use my example as my guide here. And I just have a little paint pen. If you have a marker at home, anything that'll show up on your canvas. And again, you don't even have to do this if you don't want to. If you want all of your colors to kind of merge and go together, you can also just randomly pour colors. Tanisha and I did that just last week and it came out great. So you can definitely do that as well. But I'm just going to make 5 little marks just to get an idea of
Much
where.
like to plan your projects.
Yeah. Again, not necessary, but I just put 5 little marks to separate my canvas. Okay. All right. So now we're going to grab our first color. I'm going to move my colors back to the back here. And if you want to go to the front camera again. Perfect. All right. So we're going to start with our red color, lava. And I'm just going to do a few little drips, and I'm going to watch my screen here to make sure that it's coming all the way down. And I'm going to try to work to stagger them. You don't want them all to be the same amount of paint so that they all just drag right down to the bottom. I want to have some that stop in the middle of the canvas, some that go all the way down, some that kind of go to the edge. So there's, you just want to watch it. We're going to do 1 or 2 at a time here. So we're going to start with our lava. Just going to put a little bit of paint on there. We're going to watch that go down. And then I'm going to go over, I don't know, maybe like 5 millimeters. We're going to do another one. We're going to do a really heavy one. Maybe another one here. One thing I'll say is you want to stay away from even numbers. You always want to do odd numbers in crafting or painting. So if you do multiple, make sure you're doing about 5 at least, I would say, to fill this kind of section. I'm going to get a little bit more paint. And it's okay if they merge together. It's totally fine. They can touch a little bit. I'm trying to keep them slightly separate so that they don't run into each other too much, because I like when they stay really, really separate. But if they do blend a little bit, that's totally fine. I'm not too concerned about that. Then I'm going to do my neon pop. And I encourage you guys to do this with other color combinations. You don't have to just do rainbow. You could do a really home decor color palette. You could do one of the metallics or one of the flash iridescence that we have in the line, and go more of a home decor palette. This would be great for a kid's bedroom or a teen or tween's bedroom.
I was thinking the neon set would look great on the black for
yes.
Room.
Yes, we've done a few crazy neon projects. Let me show you that. You can also use these droppers to splatter. So that's kind of what Tanisha was talking about. We've got these beautiful 4 really beautiful vibrant neons that are great to go on black. All right, there's our neon pop. Okay, I'm gonna add one more line. Follow my rule there. I would also, just big tip here, I would do this from the front. It's much easier to do it from the front than from back here, just so you know. If I were to do this over again, the ones that I've done for myself, I stand in front of so you can see where everything's going. So I'm having to use my monitor as a reference here. So bear with me, making sure everything comes out nice.
You're doing a great job, even though you can't see it.
Awesome.
Looks
Good to-
wonderful.
Thanks for letting me know. This one is really fun because it's very satisfying to see all the beautiful colors really stay nice and vibrant and separated. One thing to think about is you might look at our FolkArt Drizzle line and think, gosh, those are some really bright colors. And that is correct. However, you can also blend FolkArt Drizzle. We've made this paint so that you can blend it and get beautiful colors out of it, making different combinations, and it's not going to muddy. You know, that's what the big thing about pouring paint. If you were to take just a bottle of acrylic paint and try and pour it on a canvas, that would work. Like the paint, you know, if it was thin enough, it would cover the canvas. But if you mixed any kind of colors, it would really, you'd start to basically get brown. You know, whatever color combination you were going for, you would get brown. Because those colors are not developed to stay separate. So if you know pouring, you'll know that a lot of times you have to have a pouring medium to mix with your paint to thin them down and keep the color separation intact. But what we've done is we have built the pouring medium into this product. So there's no mixing or any kind of ratios. You can just use it right out of the bottle. So that's a big part of FolkArt Drizzle. Right, now we're going to use our Go Green. We're tooling right along. Let me know if anybody's crafting along with us. If you guys end up doing these projects, please post them on social media and hashtag Make It With Michaels and Plaid Crafts. We would love to see what you guys are doing with Drizzle.
Love looking at the Plaid Crafts hashtag on social media. I just love what people do with all of our products. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's really fun. You may not think that we look at it, but we really do.
We do. Sometimes I'm blown away, you know?
Oh yeah, sometimes they do it better than us.
Yeah, I'm like, dang, they should come work with us.
And we're going to do Good Night. Dark navy.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
He says, those lines that are going all the way down the canvas, will there be a big blob when it dries?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Yes, there will. I usually kind of like that because it almost looks intentional, like the paint has hit something. And when you kind of put it on the wall, it kind of looks cool, like it's got some kind of shelf of paint under it. So you can definitely leave it. If you don't love the way it's looking, you can raise your canvas, or once you get it just basically all the way dry, you know, if you dry to the touch, you can pick your canvas up and lay it flat so that your paint won't run anymore. And you could kind of clean up those bottom edges so that you wouldn't have those little puddles. But again, I kind of like it. It looks kind of funky and intentional and industrial, but that's all up to you.
So yeah, presumably you could use the tacks in the same way that you do them on, just on the bottom to give it little.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, we're on our last color, Royal Velvet. Now, also in hindsight, I might, if you want to do this project and you want to do it on black, I would even suggest using one of our other blue colors like Splash. It's more of like an aqua. And that might show up a little bit better on the black. But I do like the way the navy kind of sinks into the canvas. It makes you look for something. Somebody once said to me that a great piece of art has something that you've got to wait for or look for over time. But that being said, we want to make sure everybody sees all your colors, and I might do that differently. with the brighter
Have a
blue,
lot of
but
lovely blue colors.
yeah. All right. I think I'm kind of happy with that. I'm looking at it on the monitor here. It looks pretty good. I'm going to maybe get one of our longer lines. A little more paint. Okay. All right. I think that is where I'm going to leave that one. We're going to let it dry. Like we said, if you don't want your paint to pool on the bottom, you can raise your canvas up on those push pins that we were talking about for our other project. And it's really easy to do. Just tap your push pins into the sides, corners of your canvas. And you would let this dry. I would say when you're doing drips like this, you probably can leave it overnight and it'll most likely be dry. Depending on the humidity in your location and your elevation, there's a lot of things that go into play, as well as how thick you've poured your canvas. So those are all things to think about. And it's honestly just a game of coming back and checking. You don't want to touch all over your canvas, but it's a good rule of thumb to come back and maybe touch the sides. Oh, if you're letting it dry overnight, you can kind of stick a finger on the sides and get an idea of whether the paint is dry. But generally, these are cured in about a week. So it would be ready to hang up basically as soon as it's dried to the touch. But to really get it nice and cured and make sure all that paint is nice and dried out, I would give it about a week just to be really, really sure. You don't want to stack these canvases together. If you make a lot of different projects and you want to like store them, you cannot stack them on top of each other because they could stick together. That's the one thing about our glossy finish is awesome and it's really nice and cured. However, it likes to stick to itself. So if you were to stack these paintings on top of each other, they might be ruined. So that's a big tip. Don't ever stack your canvases. And yeah, I'm trying to think of any other final thoughts here, Tanisha.
Dylan, we do have a couple extra questions here.
Yeah. Let's take this time to get all your questions out about pouring. I want to make sure you guys are comfortable.
Sure. So we have one from Susie.
Okay.
And we say, what about adding extra paint in a different color in the small openings? What would happen with that? Would paint mix before drying?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So back to that formula, we've made it so that the colors stay separate. They'll blend just a little bit where, they're right up against each other. But like Tanisha and I were saying the other day, we did a neon canvas and we dripped all kinds of colors on top of our canvas and they ran into each other, but they stay really separate. So it looks kind of cool. It looks like you have almost a single drip that's split right down the middle. If you were doing yellow and green, you'd have a yellow and green side. It's really kind of cool. So you can absolutely try that. Another thing, if you wanted to do multiple colors, you could let this round of color dry. And again, when we're doing drips like this, they dry relatively quickly. I would say within a few hours, this would be dry enough to go back and add colors in between if you wanted to really build on your colors rather than have them blend together. So that would be a really cool way to do it. I haven't done it like that, but that is a fantastic idea to try.
All right. And then Amy must have missed when you showed the big glass tile behind.
Oh, yeah.
She was asking, how did Dylan secure the canvas so it doesn't fall over?
Yes. Okay. So I've got my wet canvas here. I don't want to move it too much, but I have a big, if you've been around in the crafting world for a minute, you'll know that one of those tried and true surfaces that have been around and are still at Michael's are those beautiful big glass tiles. And they're like big rectangular heavy duty tiles that you can craft in. You can put Christmas lights down inside. And I just have that as a weight behind it. In the supply list, I listed some books. You can use a really heavy vase if you have a really nice hefty glass jar or something. And I didn't even have to tape my canvas to it. Now, if you are using like a glass jar that maybe isn't super square, you could just tape your canvas to it just to make sure it doesn't move. And I have it leaning back just a little bit. I don't have it straight up and down. So it's kind of easy to just lean it up against something. And you could definitely pour into one of those baking sheets. I just have some palette paper. And this palette paper is non-stick. So when I do let this canvas dry standing up like this, I'll just be able to pick it right up and move it after I'm done. It won't stick to my paper underneath. So that's a good question.
Okay. And then there's two canvases behind you that I want you to grab because people.
Okay.
The star and the flower canvas behind you.
Okay.
The orange star,
Yeah.
little flower on the lower. There you go.
Okay, these are the fun ones.
Yes, and so they want to know how you did those.
So we will be having a Michael's class on this cup. So these, remember, are those two different cups that we offer, the flower cup and the star cup. So let me show you those tools. I knew it would come up because they're some of our coolest tools. So these are two of the tools that you'll find on that end cap in Michael's or at michaels.com. They are shaped cups. So you'll see this one right here is a star shape, and this is a flower shape. And we use this in tandem with our paint spinner, our Drizzle paint spinner, that little spin art tool. And we create those beautiful shapes with cells. You use silicone. One of the ways to use these cups is with silicone. And we basically mix silicone into all of our colors. Then we pour it down into that cup and slowly release the cup as we pour. And you start to get all of these beautiful cells that appear. And then at the very end, if you're being very careful, you can get this perfect shape at the end of your cup, a star or a flower. So there's a little bit of a trick to it, but once you learn it, it's amazing, because I made these and I made them on camera back when we filmed all the videos, and I was impressed with myself. So these are some of my favorite ones because they are, I worked very hard on them to make sure they came out good. So I'm glad you guys like them. So let me show you again. There's our star. You see all those beautiful cells. And then our flower. They're so cool. So yeah, we'll be doing a Michael's class. Look towards the end of May into early June, and we're going to be showing you how to use that tool, those two tools. So I would love to see you guys back then, because it is its own technique. They're really fun to use, and there's not just one way to use them. Tanisha actually did one on our YouTube live this afternoon and used it as more of like a dirty pour type cup, which is a really great way to use it as well. So there's a lot of fun techniques to do with the star and the flower cup. So I'm glad you guys are excited.
Okay, and Dylan, someone wants to confirm that the canvas that we're looking at right now is a 12 by 12.
Yeah, so this is a, I actually think I might have fibbed a little. I think this one is actually a 14 by 14, but
Okay.
yes, I think I put in the project listing at 12 by 12, which is generally a great size for me to work with. But this is the one that I had in the studio today because I wanted it to be a little bit bigger for you guys to see.
Okay, and then Adair asks, what colors did you use in the center purple piece on the table? One color with white apples, or does the drizzle have different shades even in the star you just showed? So
Yeah, so the colors in this one are, let me get the blue color. The blue is our brighter blue. We've got ocean or sea level, this beautiful kind of royal blue. And then we have our specialty, our our optimistic flash. This is one of our flash iridescence. It's kind of a metallic that shifts in changing light. And you can see that here when I hold this up, you can see how that color is shifting. It's metallic. It's got a bit of a color change to it. You can see when I twist it like that, you get a kind of pinky lavender, and then it goes blue. It's super, super cool. Is that the one they were referring to, or were they referring to the other one?
I hope so, but maybe you can talk about the one next to it as well.
Okay, yeah. So this one, it has a similar color palette, but we also have our white metallic, which is Cloud Surf. So that's another combination to think about. Those are the same color shifty iridescent flash paints. And then I also want to show you, we have glitter in the line. We have 3 different colors of glitter that you can pour with. And I know that's probably going to excite some people because you can literally pour with liquid glitter. This is our gold glitter. So you can see how beautiful that is. And then
the glitter is so cool because when it dries, it almost gives a depth to it that you wouldn't expect. You know, it really, I don't even know how to explain it, but the one that you held up, the circular one, it just has depth to it compare, you know, there's such an in and out when you look at it.
Yeah, the flash iridescence and the glitters work so well together. If you've seen pouring, you'll know that a lot of people just pour with paint colors that are opaque. But the glitter is a whole new thing in the project line here. That's a game changer of being able to pour with liquid glitter. It's not messy. It's the same kind of cleanup as everything else. So you don't have glitter everywhere after you do your pour. It's really, really nice to work with.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
that's it for all of our questions.
Okay. Well, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this class. Again, if you need to go back and watch this, come back on Monday to Michael's YouTube channel, and you'll be able to view this class, watch it back through, and get all the tips and tricks that we shared with you today. And we are going to be coming back to you with more classes on Drizzle. So be sure to be tuned in at the Michael's Community Classroom page to see all of our project listings. And we're going to be sharing the whole line. So stay with us this summer, and we're going to teach you everything there is to know about FolkArt Drizzle. All right. And that wraps it up for today. So bye, guys.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.